Hello everyone, I'm Babla Jonathan. You're welcome to this edition of The Insight. In this edition of the program, we're going to talk about the death of two Roman Catholic priests in the Republic of Cameroon, the priests of Bomaka Parish in the southwest region of the country, and the bishop of the Zeka diocese in the central region of the country. Both of them died in unclear circumstances. We'll also be looking at back to school and the current unstable and uncertain socio-political and security atmosphere in the two Anglophone regions of the country, the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon, the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. Will equally be continuing with our series on the way out of the current socio-political impasse rocking the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon for close to 3 years today, and will equally focus on what my guest describes as development of African nations without foreign aid, but through education. Stay with us. My guest in this edition of the program is Reverend Father George Nkeze. He is the Africa Regional President of the International Federation of Catholic Universities. He is one of the vice presidents of the Federation. He is the president of the Catholic University Institute of Buea. Reverend, you're welcome.
Yes, Babila, thank you.
All right, we're going to start this edition of the program with a special story compiled by Derek Jato and for me, Armstrong Sanda.
Some people have gone as far as proposing reasons why it happened.
Before the church, the administration, family members, friends and well-wishers, the Vicar General of the Diocese of Buea at the funeral ceremony read the medical report which revealed the circumstances under which Father Sub Alexander Noki was killed.
1. Father's body received 2 bullets on either side of the chest, just around the nipple of his breast. This means that the bullets were shot either by one person or by 2 persons of the same height. The conclusion is that the bullets were shot at a close range of about 50 to 70 centimeters from his chest. In fact, it was a point-blank shot, which eliminates the hypothesis of a stray bullet.
The family of the priest added that it was a well-calculated assassination of their son.
Father Sop was a target. The assassination was carried out by an expert. The bullet was poisoned. If Father Sop did not die at the scene, he would have been infected and died at the hospital.
And that the family was insulted in their grief by sponsored fake news circulating that Father Sub Alexander Noki was caught in a crossfire or killed by a stray bullet.
We are very disappointed with fake stories being published by individuals. We respect legal proceedings with facts. We believe that truth shall not be hidden, and we are demanding justice.
The family of the late priest and the Catholic Church are now demanding justice. Bishop Emmanuel Boshu of the Buea Diocese, during the Requiem Mass at Regina Pacis Cathedral Sopo Buea, made it public that those people that killed Father Sub Alexander Noki are even here attending his funeral.
We pray for the people who had these terrible and wicked intentions. Some of them are here with us, who murdered him. Yes, they suffer more than we do.
Father Sub Alexander Noki, the parish priest of Bomaka here in Buea subdivision, was many things to many people.
His departure is, of course, a big loss, not only for the Catholic family, but for the entire world. Some of us are not Catholics, but I feel individually touched. He was a close friend because he inspired me a lot, a brother, a friend, a teacher, a preacher, a man of God.
And he was always identified with this statement.
Man na heart. Your position is not your conclusion. Keep fear, because fear kills you.
Father Sub Alexander Noki was born in 1973. He was buried at the St. Regina Passes Cathedral in Sopobuya Diocese.
Jedone Mbogmi, Bishop of the Ezeka Diocese in the Nyong-Ankele Division, Central Region of Cameroon, is no more. Christians, well-wishers and family members are inconsolable. They are hurt, the pain is deep. According to his cook, he came Saturday morning and realized that the bishop's main door was closed but unlocked. He pushed open, moved to the second door, which was equally left open. To his greatest shock, he found the lifeless body of the man of God. His Lordship Jedone Mbogmi was found dead in his bed just after he returned from a General Assembly of Bishops which took place in Yaoundé. To the Christians who have spent over 14 years with the bishop in Ezeka, this is an irreplaceable loss. They are in total consternation. The man of God was born on the 12th of January 1955 in the Central Region. He is holder of a PhD in theology. He has been working as bishop for 35 years. He was appointed as Bishop of Ezeka in October 2004, where he has been before his demise last Saturday.
That special story there for me, Armstrong, Sanda, and Derek Jato in Boya on the death of the two priests of the Roman Catholic Church, the Bishop of the Ezeka Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church in Cameroon, His Lordship Jedone Mbogmi, and of course the priest of the Bumaka Parish in the southwest region of the country, Reverend Father Sub Alexander. You are a man of God. You are a priest of the Roman Catholic Church. When you look at what is happening today with, I want to call it attacks, men of God who are dying in unclear circumstances, what your reaction?
Babila, I think it goes back to what the church teaches, the effects of original sin. The effects of original sin is being seen in a very, very high way now within our communities. When man falls from grace and start doing things that are not godly, and you start finding that happening in our communities. So the Bible has already articulated these concepts, and so we are seeing in our times the concrete effects of what I call original sin, the death, of priest, bishop. Those are two men of God that I knew very well. Bishop Mbogmi, were together in the seminary. He was, ahead of us in the major seminary in Bambui. And now Father Alexander Sub, whom I know very well, who worked closely in the education family in the Diocese of Buea.
What do you think about this kind of situation where a priest is attacked in the midst of crisis? I'm talking about the priest of Bumaka Parish. The report compiled by Derek Jato in Boya indicated that he was shot at close range.
Yeah, the Bishop Emmanuel Bushu in his homily during the funeral did articulate very clearly that as a church, we should forgive those who assassinated Father Sub. He was very clear in what he said, and he has been killed. He's no longer there. And so what is the church's position? What is the Christian position? I think Bishop Emmanuel Bushu articulated that in his homily and said, when something has happened, like Christ on the cross, Christ there on the cross with his hands opened and said, forgive them, for they do not know what you are doing. This is what the church has to do in times like this.
And until today, concerning the Bishop of Ezeka, His Lordship Jedone Mbogmi, the cause of his death is not yet known because he was just found dead in his room. What could possibly have happened?
Babila, I am not very, very conversant with the background of his death. To be honest with you, for quite some time, I've adopted what we call a media fast. I don't watch media anymore as I used to do. So sometimes some of the concepts that you hear in the media or see in the media, I might not be very conversant with, because you don't know what is true and what is not true. This is the truth that I find. It's sometimes very difficult to say, is this information true or not true? Now, however, when you start having things happen like that, it only tells us of what evil can do if it's allowed to spread. We need to see how to build a new kind of Christians and people of God who will more live the values of the gospel. I think this is where we have this challenge now. The values of the gospel has been pushed aside, and new values are coming in where the human person is no longer respected. Even men of God are not respected. Human beings created in God's image and likeness are not respected. So this is where the challenge is. How do we bring back people, God's people, created in the image and likeness of God, divine, with such great dignity, carrying out acts that are inhuman? It is sad. So how do we help? How can we help them? And I think this is the challenge that I see before the church and before all of us. I a priest, that in such circumstances, I am being convicted as a priest to say, how do I change our pastoral strategy in order to help the Christians
deal with this kind of behavior?
Yes, with behavior, because are they not Christians? Most of these things are Christians. So I think it's a big challenge to the church now. This is my own opinion. It's a big challenge to the church, and to me as a person, as a priest, 25 years, more than 25 years as a priest, to see that we failed in our
evangelization strategies.
Have we failed? Maybe we have failed. Maybe we need to rethink. I think we need to rethink our evangelization strategy. We have lost it. We need to rethink it, and as we are doing it in education, I think we need to do it at the parochial level, to see that these are the same people who come to worship in our churches. These are the same people who carry out these acts. What can we do? So we need to rethink the way the message of God is preached. Whatever the challenges, the human freedom that we have sometimes can be so overwhelming that you cannot control people because they have the gift of freedom. But I think the church should continue to preach the reality of original sin and try to help how we can help people, Christians, move beyond evil and see each other as brothers and sisters.
And the church has said it's going to carry out an autopsy on the corpse of His Lordship, Reverend Nkeze Mbokmis, to identify what actually killed him.
Yeah, that has to be done. It's part of the church's rule, a human right to know why someone dies. And I think it's just the best decision that the church always does, that if someone dies in circumstances like that, there is a need for the church to follow the procedure to ascertain what actually killed that human being. Because remember, we said the human being is so precious in the eyes of God. And the human being's death is so precious, not more so a bishop and also a priest who have taken years of formation. So these are real issues that I think the strategies, the steps taken to find out what actually killed this man of God, I think is in the right direction.
Well, hoping that the process of finding the truth, what happened to His Lordship Nkeze Mbokmis, will not remain hanging in the air like that concerning the Bishop of Bafia.
Babila, this is where I say we need a lot of divine intervention at this time. Sincerely, I believe that there are more things that are wrought by prayers than this world think of. Sometimes I feel guilty that have we, as a church, not really gone down to our knees to invoke the Almighty God, who is all powerful and who is kind and merciful, to be merciful to our own people and to our own church, and also to the leaders of the church, which they are all going. So this is for me as a priest. I look at it from that more spiritual perspective.
Like a challenge.
Yes, it's a challenge for me because sometimes I by nature, I am a solution finder. And when something happens, I try to look at how could it be avoided, or what might have caused it. What is it that was not done well that attributes that? It's true that our lives are in God's hands, yes. But we also have a role to play, right? Prayer is not magic. We also have a role to play.
Things that we can avoid as human beings.
As human beings. So, and that's where pastoral strategy and preaching the gospel is very important. We need to preach the gospel in a way that people will be converted. People will be moved to live the values of the gospel. I think this is where the challenge is now in our own milieu. So many churches, but evil keeps growing.
This is, of course, very important, notably within the context of the crisis in the northwest and the southwest region, referring particularly to the case of the priest of Bomaka Parish. This is becoming more and more crucial to carry on this message and bring people to remain within the lines.
Yeah, I agree, Babila. You see, look at Boya, the amount of churches in Boya, and this happened in Bomaka, even where that Bomaka area, there are so many churches. So many churches. So what is going on? You cannot have so many churches. Are we failing? Are we failing? Or are we not reaching the hearts of Christians? These are honest questions that all of us have to answer. It's not enough always to say, God knows, or we'll leave our for God's hand, as they always say in Pidgin, we'll leave our God's hand. We have to play our own role. God has given us, created us to be co-creators, to carry out the evangelical mission, to bring people to love God and to love one another. And here you see a clear situation where love is no longer existing in the communities. People don't love one another. That's the central gospel message. So I think to a certain extent, I feel guilty that as a priest sometimes when I pray, I reflect, I just feel guilty that, Lord, what is happening? Maybe we are not doing enough. We need to do more in terms of evangelization. And
in the context of crisis, it is generally known by everyone that the church, men of God, are like no-go zones. Even for those who are fighting for whatever, it is hardly seen. But today in Cameroon, when a man of God is attacked in the midst of crisis, what is the indication of that? Is it an indication of things getting out of control?
I think from the divine perspective, they are not out of control. In the history of Israel, if you look at from the biblical point of view, the history of Israel, there were tough times, and the scripture says that sometimes God allowed that for a lesson. Evil now is becoming so visible that we as a community have to say, but is this good for us? What is God telling the church today? What is God telling you and I today in such an environment which is so Christian? It's a Christian. Remember, we are a Christian. It's a Christian environment, and that these acts are going on within a Christian environment. That, as you rightly say, areas that are not touched, the church, hospitals, men of God, and the clergy. That is the reality. That is not the reality. So I think we, from a more spiritual perspective, we need to step back and rethink how we can help in this situation. We've organized prayer sessions for some of the displaced in the region of Boya, where we are, and we discovered that many of them have lost hope. This is a big spiritual crisis. And so I'll see counseling and one-to-one coaching and listening to people and helping them to gain back hope for me is a major crisis that you find now in the English-speaking region. Because when people lose hope, when human beings lose hope, they can do whatever they can do. And this is where we are. People have lost hope. And the scriptures is very clear. When people lose hope, anything can happen.
So the church has a big role to play as far as this is concerned.
I think that the church has a big role, a central role, because from my own assessment, it's a spiritual crisis. It's a spiritual crisis. When human beings have lost the fear of God. When human beings have lost the respect of their brothers and sisters, it's a spiritual problem. And all what we are seeing are the external factors. The real crisis is within me. For example, I thinking that Babylon, I can kill you with no qualm of conscience. That is where the crisis is. For me, the present crisis is a spiritual crisis, and we have to look from that perspective and cure it from the roots. If we don't cure it from the roots, Babylon, things will go worse.
And this is why the Roman Catholic Church and the other churches, the Presbyterian Church, the Baptists, and all the others have been on their knees organizing prayer sessions to get God's intervention.
Yeah, we need that so badly, but that is not enough. As to say, as a Catholic priest, the Catholic vision of life is that it's both and faith and reason, faith and good works. We cannot just, while we have to pray hard now, we also have to look for strategies in ways in which we counsel, we bring in new programs within our churches that will help address this problem of loss of hope. You see, when look at Israel, when Israel had lost hope in their God, they started worshiping other gods. They started killing others. So it's not new in the scriptures. So when people have lost hope, we need a very, very, very radical, I call it a disruptive Christian approach now to address the crisis, particularly the ones we have now at our hands.
Okay, Reverend, we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. The Guardian Post exclaims over the abduction of Prime Minister Philemon Yang's village phone. The Post Weekender reports that the trial of Sisiko Ayuk Tabe and others begins at last. The Horizon reports that the Anglophone crisis is serious but not impossible to solve. And in the same vein, another issue of the Guardian Post says Ambazonian interim government makes cautious call for school resumption in the northwest and southwest regions. Eden projects what it qualifies as historic Boye Forum, stating its position on the Anglophone crisis, decries socio-economic loss, rejects secession and two-state federation, refuses to host all Anglophone conference. AAC 3 calls for inclusive dialogue, seeks Truth and Reconciliation Commission. On the event, The Star reports that the Southwest region has said enough is enough, and according to the Post, the Southwest Forum has called for more troops deployment in the region. And Tuesday's issue of the Guardian Post reports the deployment of over 500 soldiers of the Rapid Intervention Battalion Escort Elite to and from the Southwest Mega Conference. Another issue of the paper highlights how pro-Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM elite were tricked to participate in the meeting. And concerning the presidential election, the Info reports that Elections Cameroon has bowed to pressure by withdrawing polling stations from barracks and chiefs' palaces. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Reverend, you watched the papers. What caught your attention on this question?
The one that caught my attention, I think, is from the Guardian Post that says that the bishops recommend fasting as a way to address this crisis. I think that they've got the right perspective. As I've said, Babylon, this is a spiritual crisis, the spiritual human crisis, and fasting and prayer and fasting can do it all. When we talk about prayer and fasting, we talk about it. I see people talk about the bishops will indicate that people should pray and fast, but how many of us do pray and fast? It's not just writing prayers to God. Prayer and fasting means that internal conviction which each and all of us, each and every one of us have to carry out in our own lives. Because to fast, you are committed, you are closer to God. And if you are closer to God, you cannot do what is going on. So I think the bishops have got the right, I think they're on the right track to say that this fasting and prayer is one of the ways, big ways, I think one of the big ways that we can bring hope and we can get this crisis solved. Because as the Bible says, there's nothing impossible to God. We are all his creatures.
And the Horizon newspaper rightly indicated that the Anglophone crisis is serious but not impossible to solve.
Exactly. It's not impossible from whose perspective. From the human perspective, it might be impossible. That's why we're coming back to divine perspective. Remember, I see that God will intervene. I believe that God will solve this problem. And I've been praying hard for this. It's like Peter. You see, what I see many people are doing is that it's like Peter when Christ told Peter, walk on the water. Peter focuses on Jesus, and Peter is walking on the water, and Jesus says, come, Peter. He walks on the water, but the time he turns and says, hey, but this is me walking on this water. This is me embracing something which I thought can never be done, walking on water. He turns and looks at the water. He sinks. So the bishops are saying that if we don't focus on Jesus now, we will sink. This crisis will go on. So I think we need to call each and everyone in conscience to go back to ourselves and do a prayer, because if a prayerful person is a holy person, it's a compassionate person, it's a merciful person, it respects God's children, because we're all covenant children of God. We are all, whether Muslims, Catholics, we were created by the same God. So this is where the central cause of this crisis is. We have lost it, Babylon. We have lost that divine dignity of God's children, and it's us. So if we fast and pray hard and we do an internal conversion and ask ourselves, what is my role in what is going on? How can I, as a Christian in my own church, or as a whatever Muslim in my own church, how can I, in my own little way, try to change, to try to respect one another, to try to love one another, to try to support one another, to build a nation? This is the root cause of this crisis.
Reverend, you have been speaking from a general perspective, but right now I want you to speak to the authorities that be. Speak to the head of state, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Territorial Administration, and all the other government members, as well as the leaders of those who are fighting for the restoration of the independence of the former Southern Cameroons.
Babila, I like lasting solutions. You can propose strategies. Strategies are not enough with the current situation. Strategies are enough. People have proposed all kinds of strategies. I used to read all kinds of strategies that were proposed, and it's not working. I am trying to propose a more, because they have not come to the root of the problem, Babylon. Because we are proposing strategies, dialogue, and all that. Those are strategies, but it's not helping. So that's why I'm here as a priest and said we should go back to the root of the crisis, or human crisis. At the root of all human crisis is evil in our hearts, evil in our hearts. So if we can solve the evil in each of them, or whoever, as Christians or as God's children, this will stop, Babylon. This is my belief. It will stop, because Babylon, it is in our hearts. All what is going on comes from the heart, and we need to help our Cameroonians understand that it is from us. Because what is happening is that we are pushing it. We are saying, is that one, is that person, is that person. We are not seeing our own role that we are playing in it.
Of course, the Bible says that from the fullness of the heart speaketh the mouth, and we can extend by saying that from the fullness of the heart, the hands act, and the legs also act and do the things that are coming from the heart.
From the heart, exactly. But you're a preacher, you're a preacher. No, amazing, because that text of the scriptures in Matthew's Gospel says that what defies a man is not what the man does. What defies a man is what comes within the man. So what we are facing in Cameroon is the frustration, the bitterness that has been in people's in system, and now that bitterness has been there for years and years and years, and the bitterness comes out, which cannot be handled spiritually. You know, it's like in a relationship, couples are in a relationship, and they don't solve their problems. One is bitter, the other is not bitter, whatever. It accumulates all these toxins. I call them toxins.
Like a time bomb.
Time bomb, yes. You accumulate all these toxins, and now it has come out and it has gone over. This is what is happening. So it's a spiritual crisis which all of us, all need to go down on our knees, come back to ourselves and say, how can I, in my own way, in my own neighborhood, try to address this? Because if we keep pushing it to others, then we don't see ourselves into this. Then it will be temporary solutions. Sincerely, this is to be honest with you, there are all what we are doing are temporary solutions. I like that we go to the root of the problem. And when you solve the root, if I reflect about my life and I come to realize that what I've done, I'm wrong, I will say, I'm sorry, Lord, and I will change, right? I'll beat you. If I'm not beating you now, I change my lifestyle, but now I'll give you a handshake. That is what I want. That we should be able to pray and appeal to each person's conscience to see that we are all part of God's covenant children, and whatever we do to one another is God's, is affecting the same family, and we start seeing how from the within the acts that we carry out, we should desist from carrying out those acts so that we don't destroy ourselves. This for me, and in
every community there are leaders, and leaders means those who go ahead to show the way. Now I want you to talk to the leaders of this country, because they have to show the way. From what you're saying, yes, it's bringing together all Cameroonians who are expected to do what you're just saying now. But there are some people who have been chosen, yes, I believe by God, to lead this nation, and they are expected to be torch bearers. So I want you to speak to the head of state and the other leaders of this country.
Babila, I'm a leader too. I'm the president of a university. When this crisis came, what did I do? This is what I'll say to all our leaders, all, from the president to whoever leading communities. Let's go back to yourself. Each of us to go back to ourselves first of all. For me, this is critical. When this crisis happened, I spent my time going back to myself as a leader, because if I'm not spiritually grounded, my actions will not produce the kind of results that a spiritually grounded person will produce. And so this is my cry. This is the only appeal. I'm a man of God, and I'm trying to, I prefer proposing solutions, lasting solutions to the problem, because once the heart is healed, the decisions taken, you see, this is what I'll say to every leader. If I meet any leader today, I'll say the same thing. Please, let us, each of us, go back to our hearts. As I am a leader too in my own university, how have I, in my own university, gone to my heart and said, am I taking actions that make people not lose hope? Am I taking decisions in my university that makes people lose hope? Am I bringing joy to my community? These are internal issues which each and every one of us Cameroonians needs to go back to that heart, which only God alone knows what is inside, to be able to reform that heart for a change.
Now, talking about the consequences of the crisis that has been pulling on for close to 3 years today, particularly on education, 2 academic years have elapsed in very difficult conditions. Another one is around the corner. How do you perceive this forthcoming academic year?
It's a pity that you know, my position now as the regional president for Africa, Catholic universities, is kind of disturbing. It's kind of disturbing because Catholic universities are non-partisan organizations by their nature. Catholic universities and schools are created by the church for integral human development. Catholic universities were not created for partisan politics, because remember, everybody who comes to a Catholic university, in a Catholic school, will receive everybody. It's part of the word Catholic means universal. That openness to acknowledge the diversity of God's children. Now, coming to education, it's sad that we cannot bring that human development, which is part of the cause of this crisis. Remember, if people are well formed, Babila, you will not find what we are saying. So I think it's sad that this crisis is affecting schools, and mostly most schools in the English-speaking region. It's sad, but that's the reality. It goes back to that formation. The formation. Did we fail in forming human beings in the right direction? So I think it's sad. My prayer is that this crisis should come to an end, and that kids should be able to go back to school. Go back to school. Sincerely, I agree with you. They should go to school, because when I see kids in Boya now, I've met many kids that ask, what are you doing? They are just lost. And I feel bad. That's why I propose a different kind of educational model. But now for Africa, which I know, because
we'll be coming back to that in details in a short while. Now we're going to take interviews of the week.
I'm inviting the parents and all the leaders to open dialogue with those people, because they are our brothers and sisters. They are coming from our villages. Let us tell them that the issue of preventing children to go to school can no longer work.
In the procedure for habeas corpus, we file a habeas corpus writ. That habeas corpus writ requires that the body, the corpus delicti, that's in Latin, supposed to be before the judge. All the 10 people were supposed to be before the judge. Nobody came. They didn't take the time to take them, to bring them. So for the judge to have taken a decision to throw out the file, it's shocking, but I'm not surprised. So that is a fatal error, which they were not even supposed to open the file. They were supposed to just adjourn the file so that we can have the opportunity to bring them. They can have the opportunity to bring them. They went ahead and said that the other 3 lawyers who were chosen by government and imposed on the accused persons instead have filed a discontinuance in this matter when they were not supposed. I'm the senior counsel here. I was supposed to be the one to file if there's anything to file. They went ahead and filed. And secondly, they claim that there's a document which they call Déclaration sur serment. When they say Déclaration sur serment, you don't take it in the quartier. You don't take it anywhere. You take it before the judge. So if they were here, we would have had them to sign that declaration before the judge. But they were not here because they were not produced before the judge.
You have groups of bandits, and for the past 1 year we have had some criminals who have taken the duty to take people hostage and to ask for money. And from our evaluation, the forces of law and order have been able to track them. They have been arrested and they have been sent to the judiciary for investigations. The region of Adamawa is calm. We are living in a serene atmosphere, and we have major challenges. The first challenge is the forthcoming presidential election on the 7th of October. President Paul Biya instructed us to tell the administrative authorities to accompany ELECAM. ELECAM is an independent body charged with the organization of elections. So they have to protect the materials, they have to protect the offices, and they have to protect the electoral process.
The main primary substance that are mostly demanded in Cameroon are cannabis at a 58.55% rate, very often associated with tobacco, tramadol in 44.62% of cases, cocaine in 12.10% of cases. And then we have the use of a traditional makeshift preparation for a consumption level of 7.69% cases, solvents for 7.6% of cases, and heroin consumed at 5.7% of cases. Most importantly, more than 12,000 young people under the age of 15 are involved in the use of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances in our country. Cameroon, formerly considered by the United Nations as a transit country, is currently a destination country for drug addicts. It has been shown that a significant proportion of drug seizures in the country are made for local consumption.
Maternal death is one of the saddest things that you can think about. There is no reason why in this day and age any child should grow up not knowing what his or her mother looked like. The Ministry of Health is working in that direction, but what they are doing is not yet enough. Otherwise, they would have met the sustainable development goals. That has not been fully met in this area. As a senator, that is one of the areas where I will want to push. I want to see that government continues to increase its efforts in eradicating maternal deaths, and also to be able to sensitize society that the public should also know their own role in the reduction of maternal deaths.
We can see for ourselves what is happening here. We can see the state of the road. This has been here for more than 10 years that this place is like this. We have a toll gate just right in front of us, which has the same problem. I don't know whether the state sees this or there are individuals that collect this money and put into their pocket. You don't see into that the road should be well maintained.
When the minister published the list, we immediately started depositing the document, even though the document was already in the process. But we had to push it. So we had to go to deposit the document to delegate regional of Britola. And then also he had to authorize with the advance copy, and then we went and deposited in Yaoundé, of which they gave us the discharge to prove that we have deposited the document at the ministry in Yaoundé. So for now we are waiting for the minister, His Excellency Minister, to look at our document and get back to us by authorizing us to go on. And our prayer is that the minister should hear our call and our plea, because we are here, we are just, our goal here is to educate Cameroonians.
Mayors and municipal treasurers or secretary general are not enemies. Secretary generals and municipal treasurers are appointed by the state. It's obvious. But there are many mayors collaborators. They have to fully involve within these administrations. They have to help mayors, as I said. If the Secretary General is the legal advisor of the mayor, the municipal treasurer is his main financial advisor. And as I said, their relationship should be well conducted for the well-being of the council, for the city, and for the well-being of the population of their various councils.
The AG is the handman of the mayor, because the mayor cannot work without AG. All things pass through her, and I think when we are together, things go well. All innovation is through AG, because she has to see whether the law is applicable. The mayor can bring something like idea, but the AG is going to see if the law is applicable before implementation.
You're welcome back. Reverend, you heard the CPDM Senator for Mezam Division, Senator, we're talking about Senator Regina Mundi, who said Cameroon still has a long way to go to curb infant and maternal mortality. What should be done?
I think she's just right that the healthcare system of Cameroon is very, very poor. Because when you talk about infant mortality, you are saying that take the housing challenge, the healthcare housing challenge, restrooms, toilets, you know, how do the women who give birth, their conditions, prenatal care, all that is a whole package. It's a healthcare package. So what is actually happening now, as she's saying, is a poor healthcare system.
Right. You are the Africa Regional President of the International Federation of Catholic Universities, a federation that brings together hundreds of Catholic universities across the globe, and you are equally one of the vice presidents of that federation, and you are equally the president of the Catholic University Institute of Boya. Now, you went to Ireland, where you were elected as Africa Regional President of the federation, and you said African countries can develop or can be developed without necessarily receiving aid from other African countries, but through a new model of education. What is that model?
Yes, Babila, that model is the biblical model. which I've designed and which we're putting in practice in the Catholic University Institute of Boya, the entrepreneurial university. Now, what is the biblical model which says? It says that God had 3 servants. He gave one 5 talents, he gave another 2 talents, and gave one 1. So there's no continent that hasn't resources. He goes for it on a journey and comes back. The one who had 5 talents doubled it to 10. The one who had 2 talents doubled it to 4. The one who had 1, what did he do? He buried it. This is where Africa is now. We have buried our talents. Remember, if you look at the scripture, a talent is about $1.8 million in a currency. So if someone is giving $1.8 million, he or she buries it. Now, what I see in Africa, and I see that we don't need aid, because God has blessed all the continents in the world. God's children are all blessed. You are blessed, I'm blessed. I have my own talent. You have yours. Now Africa is even blessed. Africa is on the 5-star continent level of blessings. All the minerals are in Africa. All the skills, human capital is at the highest level in Africa. The youth in Cameroon are amazing. I have not seen intellectuals in Cameroon. Now what's happening? We are begging. We don't need that, because we have the educational system has been borrowed from the colonial days and has made us to beggars, because when you become a beggar, you are stunted. You bury what you have. So we have buried all this talent in Africa, and then we spend our time getting ideas from Europe, getting everything from Europe, begging, and so we have buried all that we have. That's why we are dying, and that's why we don't need aid anymore. We need a new system that begins from people's capability. Every child of God who comes to a school has a capability that can bring positive change based on that capability. And if we start training our children from the primary school to the secondary school to the high school, they will not need aid, because they will double their talents, they will double their skills, they will double innovation. So we don't need that aid anymore.
Is that what you meant by development that comes from below, not from the top?
Yes. So it's a development that comes from, not from aid, but from empowering people and making them to carry out that change, the positive change, to be the owners of their own development. This is where Africa needs, which other countries have done. But we have done, every time we get boring, every time we are, if you look at the picture, sometimes I get upset about Africa. It shows a poor child there at the slums and begging. That child has talent, but the educational system is so outdated now. It's all exam. I see kids always test. You find it's so test oriented. What is test? Test is killing your intelligence. It's all about tests. So children go to school, pick notes, sit down. Sometimes they go to class, don't bother. Come at the end of a semester, write an exam, and pass. Babila, they have buried, talents are buried. So we need that new system, and that's why at the Catholic University we have started the next, we call it the cradle of African school should be the cradle of innovation and entrepreneurship, which means we start building kids from nursery school into being owners of their own destiny, from nursery school to secondary school to the university. This is what we are doing now in Boya. We've started training the new generation of Cameroonians, and at the moment you see a child now in nursery 1. That child, I just bought a seal pass from a child made by a child in nursery 1 in Boya, in CIB's primary school, to show the talent that Africa has, to show the resources that have. We are a 5 talent resources. But what has happened is that the world has made us to be stunted. The world has made you feel that you cannot. I am also part of that story, Babila. When I had this appointment, even now I'm in disbelief. Because I went there with this low self-esteem. I went there with all whites, mostly whites. The very few, even Catholic universities in Africa attended. And when I was voted as regional president, and more so as vice president of the federation, I keep saying, but how is that possible? Because my background, my educational system has made me that way.
You were selected among officials, university dons from 230 universities across the world.
Yes, but you see, I am in disbelief. The president is a lady from the Catholic University of Portugal, Professor Isabella. She has a new vision, and that's the vision I was presenting to them. And the Africa needs this new vision, and they were happy that this is what we should be doing. And she told me, Father, we need you because you have the right vision for a new Africa in terms of education. We must transform the educational landscape from this, what I call a matricle syndrome, to what we call a positive change educational model. That children come to school to see how they can be solution finders in the community and positive change in the community. This is that's the purpose of education. That they can be always doubling their talents, doubling. You see, the Bible says the person who doubled had 5. The person who had 2 doubled, which means all of us can double. If all of us double, why do I need 8? Why do we need 8 in Africa? We only collaborate. Collaboration now becomes the key now to work, because we know, okay, there are some strengths that we can get from other countries. We have our own strength because we work from who we are. Our educational system is what we call the point system. You come and say you cannot do this subject because you don't have. It does not begin from your strength. It begins from a weakness. The system doesn't begin from your strength. A child comes to class, you must be able to identify what is the strength of that child and begin assessing that child from that child's strength, not from a weakness. But our educational system works on a weakness. When results are called, what happens? The real results, oh, this one has passed in GC. Who cares about GC? People are making it out there.
Now, considering the fact that to solve a problem, that problem must be identified from all angles, in all its forms. You said earlier that the educational systems of most African countries, including that of Cameroon, or those of Cameroon, because we have 2 educational systems, the English subsystem and the French subsystem, all archaic. What is archaic about these systems?
This is what Catholic University, let me tell you what is going on. The landscape of education has changed all over the world, not only in the English and the French. The whole world landscape has changed. We are now in a disruptive age. Disruption is taking place every day. You get a phone now, in the next, a model of a phone, Babylon, in the next 1 year, the model has changed. It has changed. The landscape keeps changing. How do we educate a student, even in Catholic education? That's why we are very concerned. The theme this year was, in most Catholic universities, which we had all over now, was how do we address the constant, rapid, disruptive change. I propose in Sweden, we call it creative disruptors. So we have to start training the new generation of students in this creative, disruptive world. The world is so disruptive. Everywhere, change. But we are still doing the test system. Constant evolution, but we are still training children in a way that is not existing. It's constantly changing. And so we follow this magical test syndrome. They are waiting to write concours. Everybody's, that is not, we are losing it. So we are saying that we must develop a new system. Take the new world. We talk about gig economy. We talk about new platforms economy. We talk about the digital economy. The digital economy. We talk about automation now. We talk about the AI economy, artificial intelligence, which is coming up. The robotization of education. The world is going out the next 2030, not 2035. In 2030, it has been shown that the next generation of workers will be all on automation, the automation economy, where everything is automated. We talk about now artificial intelligence, AI. We are talking about the digital economy. But Babila, where are we in Cameroon? Even in the Catholic circles. And that's why the Catholic higher education is taking the lead now at that level. We are trying to even revamp Catholic higher education. So it's not only about us. It's a whole world crisis. And we have to, and it's worse in us in Africa or us, because we are still in the traditional education of going to school, going to the 4 walls of the classroom, coming back, write a test, hold a paper, and go for a job. And not no longer. The skills, take the skills. Now we need more technological skills. We need now digital skills. We need now emotional skills, emotional intelligence. We need now operational skills, like the modern machines that are being made. We need people who can operate those modern machines. Remember, we are going to a world where everything is automated, even in the medical field. Now in other countries now, you don't even need a human being to do an operation. It's all automated. You call somebody on the phone, the artificial intelligence is taking over. So CUIB is trying to be one of those solution finders and trying to work out a model for Africa, and that's one of the reasons why I was voted.
Earlier you were indicating that this starts from the very first step, which is identification of intellectual abilities.
Yes.
At the very basic levels.
Yeah, the basic level. We have what we call the one-size-fits-all system. Every child comes to a class, the teacher just teaches. Outdated. We have in universities, we have what we call the theater syndrome. A teacher called big theater, amphitheaters. Then now you have with their mobile phone, now we have developed what we call the ubiquitous learning and teaching. Ubiquitous. They use, our students in our school use phone. They can learn anywhere. They can learn anywhere now. We call it, if you use the mobile phone, we call that ubiquitous teaching. If I had my mobile phone, I'll show you. The students learn anywhere. It helps them, it assists them in their, when they come to school, the mobile phone, which every Cameroonian has. This is what we should do. We start using what we call mobile and ubiquitous teaching and learning, which we need now in this 21st century. We cannot be going to the old model. And this is the model. And at the level of the higher institutions of learning, what should be revised as far as the LMD system is concerned? Because there has been much talking about professionalization of university education and so on. What should be improved at this level in order to get things in the right place? I think we must understand the landscape. We are in a area called fixation. What is killing us now is fixation. Fixation, that attitude where status quo. Where the Minister of Higher Education have been talking about professionalization. It's there, but the whole curricula has not been changed. The whole structure, legal structure has not been changed in higher education. The whole governance structure has not been changed. How can you achieve that change? Remember, vision is 1%. 99% is implementation, execution. So we have to go back, not just vision to say, oh, universities must, we have professionalization of education, but the curriculum has not changed, the teaching method has not changed, the pedagogic innovation is not existing in the schools. You know, it's not there. So that's why CIB, we're moving now, we have brought this new way of teaching and learning, which we call it the hybrid way, that can give kids the skill to have technological skills, analytical skills, critical skills that are needed for this century. Our skills, our children are what we call replicators. We just replicate. A child goes to the classroom, takes knowledge, and then you give back to the teacher. That doesn't exist anymore. No company will hire somebody who cannot be a changer, because the economy is disruptive. It's too disruptive. In a nutshell, you're talking about shift from 80% theory and 20% practice to the other side, that is 80% practical and 20% theory. Yes, we were talking about the hybridization of education. That part of it is there, but also that's a child coming to the university should do what we call cross-cultural subjects. If I'm doing management is not enough. I need the skills of digital skills. So in university I should do double degrees. So in that way, I am a manager, and if I face an automated well, I can cope with that automated well. So we are talking about all those new pedagogic innovations to bring, and that's why we are expanding this vision. We have now, because of this, my position, we are expanding this vision from Boya. We are bringing it to Douala and Yaoundé. We are starting now our university in Douala to bring this vision to Douala, because people don't understand that the landscape of education has changed. We are still going through the old philosophy of education, which is outdated. Upside is completely outdated. Babylon. Take a phone. You can press a pause. You can go back to a video. You can go back to learn. So this is a new way, mobile and ubiquitous learning. Using the phone. This is a new way for Africa, because every African has a phone, and this is what we're trying to bring to Cameroon and now to Douala and in Yaoundé now this year. Reverend Father George Nkeze, Africa Regional President of the International Federation of Catholic Universities, one of the vice presidents of that federation that has 230 members, and of course President of the Cameroon, the Catholic University Institute of Boya. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Insight.